People who want to save money generally have a choice. They can choose between currencies and saving in precious metals like gold and silver. But have you ever stopped and wondered, which gives value to which? This is a chart I introduced in my last video. It's the stock to flow for various items. It basically shows the ratio of the amount of stock being held above ground to the amount that the item flows. So for example, gold has a stock to flow ratio of nearly 60, which means that 60 times the amount that's pulled out of the ground every year is held by private investors and hoarders. Silver has a stock to flow ratio of close to 20, but almost everything else has a stock to flow ratio of 1 or less, indicating that they tend to be used up very quickly, making them just common commodities. I added to this chart the US dollar, expressed as M3, and this is the broadest definition of money, which includes cash on hand, savings deposits, checking accounts, travelers' checks, large time deposits, and everything else. But even when the broadest measure of money is included here, we can see that the stock to flow ratio of dollars is actually only 1.1, which puts it on par with pretty much all the other commodities. Which means that the dollar was really not meant to be saved, it's not meant to be hoarded, it circulates. So compare that to gold and silver, which have been traditionally money, and you can see that gold and silver are much more tightly held than the dollar. So with that in mind, let's consider how the price of gold and the price of the dollar are set. In the left circle, let's represent the holders of all above ground gold totaling 5.1 billion ounces. In the circle on the right, let's represent all of the holders of dollars totaling 16 trillion. The market acts like a giant auction. People in the left circle are entitled to offer to exchange a current quantity of gold in exchange for dollars. The people in the right are entitled to accept that offer or counter with their own offer of dollars in exchange for gold. Whenever two individuals are able to agree to terms and exchange a certain quantity of gold for currency, that establishes a price. If that transaction takes place in a public forum, then the exchange is recorded and that price becomes a market price that is visible to all who care to look it up. The thing to remember about the price established in a market is that it only takes a single completed transaction to set the price. Even if the volume is only 1/billionth of the total quantity of the material, the price has been set until the next transaction is recorded. More oddly, this becomes the official price even if there is not a single other person who would even consider taking part in a similar deal. This is important to remember. The activity on the edges is what sets the price, not the general consensus. This is especially important for gold because of its extremely high stock-to-flow ratio. Now, let's consider what might happen if all of the gold holders as a group and all of the dollar holders as a group agreed all at once to do a single exchange of all of the gold for all of the dollars, even for even. What would happen? Well, a single very large transaction would be recorded at over $3,000 per ounce. You can verify this yourself, just do the math. Today's exchange rate is $1,400 per ounce. This is evidence that on the margin, gold is bidding a very high value of dollars, and it is not the dollars that are bidding for gold. Let's see what is dictating the exchanges that are taking place at the edges. Let's consider the general types of people we have playing in the currency and gold arenas. I'm placing the people who will bid for dollars on the outside because it's gold that bids for dollars and not the other way around. In the upper left, we have big established money. These people generally have family wealth and have more of it than they know what to do with. They hold a great percentage of the world's above ground gold, most of the fine artwork, own a very large portion of the world's industry and resources. It's hard to put yourself into this person's shoes. You just have to know that they're there and that they are pulling the strings. Remember my discussion about declining marginal utility? Well, they have so much cash and income that they just don't know what to do with it all. If a currency holder came to them and asked to do an exchange of currency for gold, they would decline, primarily because they don't lack for currency at all. They won't give up their gold because it's been in their family for generations, and they've been educated that it will keep its value when everything else fails. So this person is very important in the grand scheme of things, but that gold is staying put as far as he's concerned. The guy in the upper right hand, for the most part, is fairly oblivious and represents the typical citizen. After years of substandard education and reality TV shows, he's got about as much awareness of the world as a cucumber does. I'm speaking in generalities here. There are a few who are awake, like yourself, but these are individuals who are in the minority. This group, awake or not, has little cash and little gold, so they aren't very important in this game. The people in the lower right are paper guys. They don't have any physical gold, and they only value dollars. They might bet on the price of gold movements and influence the paper price temporarily, but they don't care about the price level itself, only the movement of the price level. The miner in the lower left is sitting on top of a gold deposit, which is owned by shareholders and a government. The mining executive is just a business owner. He wants to pay his people in dollars, and he himself wants to be paid in dollars. So long as he is able to keep the gold flowing and bring in more cash than he has to pay to his workers and creditors, he's happy. So this group is our group on the edges that is going to bid strongly for those dollars. So we can see that the player in the upper right doesn't have the resources to play a big part. The player in the lower right, while being a nuisance and causing great volatility in prices, doesn't care enough about the actual price, and so is not very important to the average price level. The real big gold holders are sitting patiently on their hoard and not exchanging any of it for dollars. That leaves the gold miner, whose job it is to make a currency profit, so he will bid for dollars and bid for them strongly. He won't bid so high as to not make his profit, but he wants to maximize his total inflow of cash for himself and for his shareholders. The amazing thing is that with the stock to flow of gold being as high as it is only 1.8% of the gold that is setting the price. So of what practical importance does this thought experiment have? Well, if we have a mining industry that is bidding strongly for dollars so as to make a dollar profit for their gold, then unless they are making unbelievable profits for their shareholders, we know that currency holders can obtain gold, for now, at a price that is fairly close to what it takes to pull new gold out of the ground. In other words, gold is priced just above the energy it takes to mine it, making gold an ideal way to protect purchasing power. But there's a large potential upside as well. The big money hoarders in the upper left, who would not dream of parting with their gold in exchange for currency, are in command of the other 98% of the gold that is playing in this game. So consider the possibility that the 1.8% of new mine supply stops bidding for dollars. This could happen in the event of a failure in the derivatives market. If mines are unable to sell their gold forward in the futures market because of a failure in confidence, then the dollar will lose its bid altogether. If that happens, which vehicle, gold or the dollar, will still have value? Remember, there will be no price discovery because there won't be any transactions. One will become worthless and the other will become priceless. Which will be which?